Oh wow, what's this? It's a deck of cards. Isn't that one of those like magic future fortune telling decks of cards? I wonder what will happen if I ask it some questions. Let me think. Hey cards, what happens to people if they play with you? Can they make money? Whoa, the Emperor. Oh, that must mean I can get rich. Oh, how do the cards work? The Magician? What, it's magic? It can't be magic. How am I supposed to believe in that? Can I believe in magic? Huh, the High Priestess? What does that mean? Oh, who can I ask about more questions about this? Oh, who's this guy? The Hierophant? What does he know? Does he know anything about this? Oh, what about me? I just want to know about me. I don't care about these other people. Oh, cards. What happens if I play with the cards? Can I get rich? Hello and welcome to CEAZOR Snack Sandwich. Today we're on Phantom taking a look at Terret.to. But before I get into Terret, I would like to shout out a thanks to Cream Finance for sponsoring my channel. You can check them out. There is a link in the description. It's a great place to lend and borrow a whole bunch of different cryptocurrencies. So what is Terret? Terret is a fork of a protocol called Impermanex. Now they do shout out to Impermanex here in their GitHub. If you go through their GitHub, it says here Impermax, and version 2 Uniswap white paper. And this is where they got the idea of this protocol, or where they got to they forked it basically, right? So it's a fork of Impermax. Now, the only reason why I'm not covering Impermax is because I use Terret because I'm on Phantom a lot. I have a substantial amount of money on Phantom that I can test this out with. Whereas on Ethereum, I don't want to test out things on Ethereum. And then on Polygon, I don't have a substantial amount of money there either. And then same with Arbitrum, I don't have a lot of money there. So, however, everything that I say here is almost applicable to Impermanex. So you can probably watch this video and understand Impermax as well as Terret at the same time. Now, the numbers will change, of course, and they will be slightly different here or there. However, it's basically the same system, the same concept, the same engine in a different body, okay? So here, Terret. Terret has a lot of opportunity to make some money. There are two kinds of actors. There are lenders and borrowers, okay? So you can go through here and you can check all the pools that you find interesting, and you can see which tokens you want to deal with. But let's get a general idea of what's going on here. So if, let's say I just click on, let's choose this one here, USDC FTM on Spirit. So Spirit Swap has an LP that is a USDC and FTM, and you can supply liquidity to that LP and farm Spirit tokens. And then we have a similar one here on Spooky, which is the same idea. You supply those tokens to Spooky Swap and you can farm Boo tokens. So these are vaults and farms, so they have some auto compounding in there. But they also have some leveraging. So let's click open this one and we'll get a better understanding of the opportunities inside. So if we go inside here, we see the same thing. All these numbers are basically the same things that we're showing on the cards on the main page there. And you have different kind of opportunities. We have borrowing, we have lending, and we have farming. So let's go to lending first. Lending is a little bit simpler. So lending is basically you take one of the tokens that you have and you lend them. And if you come up here, you can see the supply APR is 23% on USDC and 37% on Phantom. So if I were to put any of my tokens in here, I would get those respective APRs. Now they will change as people put money in there because it's borrowing and lending, so it's supply and demand, okay? The other side is a borrowing here. And to show you borrowing, I'm going to go over to one position that I actually have open, and that is this one here, FTM versus ETH. So I have borrowed these tokens and I've used this as my collateral. So you build an LP on, in this case, SpookySwap. So I built an LP of FTM and ETH, and then I deposited in here, and then I pressed leverage, and I decided my perimeters, and I ended up borrowing a bunch of FTM and ETH, and they used those FTM and ETH to produce more of these LPs and deposit them for me to farm more. So there's something I want to show you here. Okay, so let me explain how this flash borrowing works, because it's pretty powerful, okay? So let's say I have 100 LP, or 100, let's say $100 worth of LP tokens, and I borrow $400 worth of LP tokens, or in this case 400 LP tokens. That doesn't make sense, right? Because I'm only got 100 and I'm borrowing 400, right? So I'm going to have a lot more debt than I do collateral, right? But this is all going to happen in a single transaction. So it's going to borrow these from, based on the fact that I did put 100 in, and it's going to use those tokens that it borrows to build an LP, right? And then it's going to stick those $400 worth of LP in as collateral, and now I have $500 worth of collateral, so my loan is now backed. Now the important thing here is that this has all happened atomically as one single transaction, so that if any of the issues along the way happen, the entire thing gets canceled and is rejected. So this is how the flash borrowing, or the leveraging up, works. It uses flash borrowing to do so. So back to here. So there's another couple things that are important that we need to understand. So if you look at the borrowing here, I have supplied $5,000 and I borrowed $7,800 worth of debt. So I have a total of $12,800. And as you can see, that's why I'm able to borrow this much, because of the flash loan, because I only put $5,000 worth and I borrowed $7,800 worth of tokens, and I was able to leverage up more than one times. So that's how this works, okay? Now, maybe I'll show you how to leverage up. I'll open up another position, because it's important that you get to select the amount of leverage that you want, and that will adjust the liquidation prices. I read through all of the docs. I read through even this one here. This is Impermanax's docs, and I've read through all of this to try to figure out why these numbers are these numbers. And kind of, I'm not a mathematician, so I'm not able to go through the math, the deep dive white paper, and figure out how these numbers are done. But I'm not completely sure why both the low price and the high price can cause liquidation. However, not understanding is okay in this fact, as long as I pay attention to it. So basically, if you look at the current price of my LP tokens, of these LP tokens, these ones, is 0.0045. So 4,563. And then if the price goes below 1,000, then I get liquidated. And here you'll notice that there is one less zero. So be careful of this, one less zero. So this is in essence 11,000, right? 11,000 versus 4,000. So if the price of these tokens goes up very drastically above 11,000, where it's currently the 4,000, then I will also get liquidated. So you need to watch this. You need to check on it daily or every once in a while, or at least pay attention to the price of these tokens and make sure there's no huge spikes. Now, in the case that there is a spike, there is going to be a liquidation. And the liquidation, basically, the liquidators get an incentive of 4%. So you're definitely going to lose 4% of your position, but you won't lose everything. You will just lose enough so that they can decollateralize your position and you pay off your debt, and then you'll be left with the rest minus 4%. Okay, there are a few tips here to avoid liquidation, and one is to choose tokens that are more stable. So in my case, I've chosen FTM ETH, which is, in my opinion, a little more stable than some other tokens that are available there. Another way to avoid liquidation, or to try to reduce the risk of liquidation, is to borrow smaller amounts. So leverage less. Okay, less up. And I'll show you when I open up the UI again in that. And then we can also, it says monitor your positions quite closely. So pay attention to them. Don't just set and forget. And then finally it says, the best way to avoid liquidation is to not borrow at all and just be a lender. Okay. So let's go and try to open a position and see how things go. Okay, so the position that I'm just going to try this with to show you how it kind of works is this Spooky Ice FTM. Now, people might ask me, well, why would I take the risk of getting liquidated if I could just supply to the borrowing or the lending, right? So if you look at this entire position, let's take a look at why. Okay, so if I supply FTM, I'm going to get 24% on my FTM. And if I supply ICE, I'm currently going to get 6%. However, if I supply the liquidity pool, the LP, and I leverage it up, I can get up to 384% on my liquidity pool tokens. So that's quite substantial. It's quite a bit higher than this 6 and this so forth. So I'm going to click this open and then go to borrow. And so I'm going to need to deposit an LP token. So if I press deposit, it's like, hey, you don't have any, so go get some, right? So I'm going to go to Spooky Swap here. I've set it up. I'm just going to do a quick one of like, 120 ICE tokens, and FTM is about 100. So I'm going to supply this and wait for my confirmation. Okay, so that was mighty fast. So click OK, and then I'm going to swing back here, and I'll just refresh just to make sure it knows what is inside my wallet and it's ready to go. Okay, so I go down to deposit this time, and as you can see, I do have some tokens, so I want to match. Again, approve, of course. Okay, now that I've deposited my LP tokens, so I've got my collateral inside here. I've got just $300 worth of collateral. I can borrow some tokens and leverage myself up. So I could just deposit more. I could withdraw those LP tokens, or I can leverage up. So I'm going to press leverage. And as you can see, here is the bar that I would come to and try to leverage the. So you pull this bar along, and as you can see, the more I pull it to the right, the higher the leverage is, and the more risk I am of getting liquidated. So if we look at the current price is $17.82, and if it goes to 13, I get liquidated. If it goes to 23, I get liquidated. So the more you pull it up here, the higher the risk, of course, and then the more you pull it down, the less risk. So I'm gonna just go with something that's even just slightly yellow. I'm gonna go with just 2%, 2 times. So if I just go with 2 times, right? Then you can see my estimated APR is around 300%, which is quite substantially lower than what it said if I jack this up to 900%, right? But then I really have to monitor this closely, and one little spike might cause me to get liquidated. So if I go something fair and easy, like 2%, or 2 times, it's not too risky, I think. Of course, you still need to watch it closely and make sure that it's okay. But again, so approve, and then leverage up. So I will do that so you can just watch, and I'll try to speed this up. Okay, so that pretty much covers the entire leveraging up of this position. You can see that, I currently have this position open for $200 worth of, or $300 worth of equity. I borrowed $315 and I've got $600, and we'll see how it goes. The last thing I want to mention though is whenever you do leverage up a position, an LP token, you are automatically also placed into the farming of Terret tokens. So as you can see, I currently started to accumulate some Terret tokens, and Terret tokens are the governance token of this protocol, but you can use them for whatever purpose you want, whether it be voting or if you want, you can use them for selling in the market or doing something like that. The last thing I would like to show you is if I go to dashboard, we can see my ICE position here is got a balance of $600 and is currently burning away. I can click this down and see a little bit more of, what are what's the leverage I have, and what is the price, and what is my liquidation price. But if I want to see my current APR, I have to actually I have to basically take a look at this versus this here, because I've borrowed these tokens, and so this is my farming APY on the borrowed Phantom I've taken, and this is my farming APY on the borrowed ICE I have taken. The last way I could probably check it is I could just go back to markets. And remember that this is a percentage here based on 3x, and I did 2x, so I could know it's a little bit less, right? It's going to be around 200. So it's a little bit hard to know exactly how much I'm getting and how much how much APY I'm getting, and that's based on just UI display issues, right? So this is one of the difficulties I find, and one of the reasons why I think they have a problem with adoption is it doesn't quite clearly say anywhere that I can find exactly what your position's APYs are. Like, it should say somewhere here, like, you are currently earning this much APY, and that would make people a little more inclined to use it as a leverage position. I'm going to leave this position open for a little while. I might change it in the future because this number could get met fairly quickly if there's a large drop, but I think it's fairly safe. It's not a terribly risky position. So I hope this is helpful. I know I didn't cover it like exactly perfectly. It's a difficult protocol to cover in all, it's different protocol to cover. So I hope that it helps you, and I hope that this is useful, and thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.